So today we're talking about the ego. You might think that the ego is a gift because it keeps you safe, but that's not the point of this video. I believe there is a fundamental purpose of the ego that is often overlooked. I believe this video will not only prevent you from fighting the ego, but also to live more in alignment with the universe and finding peace in this human experience. In chapter 1, I want to start with defining what I mean when I say ego. In chapter 2, I will reveal what I believe to be the fundamental purpose of our existence. And in chapter 3, I will reveal how I think the ego plays a crucial part in fulfilling this fundamental purpose of life, and why that leads to viewing the ego as the biggest gift. Let's start with chapter 1. We can lay safely in our bed and just feel anxious as fuck. While we're super safe, but we're all like creating all these scenarios that make us think that we are in danger. Why are we humans plagued with this voice of endless self-reflection? Apparently somewhere in the past we evolved these super complex brains that folded in on itself, that made us so self-aware. I think we literally needed to obsess about this tiger that killed 3 of our friends and really needed to think long and hard how we're gonna prevent that in the future. It was such an evolutionary advantage to separate ourselves, to identify ourselves with this body, with this human. And right now, with no tiger lurking in every bush anymore, we are left with the remnants of a system that served us very well in the past, but can be such a headache in these times. So with this voice that is agonizing us every second it gets, what do we do in our culture? We start to demonize it. And that is where the common belief comes from, that our ego is this bad thing that is hiding in our head, that is creating all our suffering. And in a sense, it creates our suffering, but if you switch your perspective on this, and bear with me, you're gonna see it as the biggest fucking gift out there. Once again, it's not about the ego keeping us safe, because that's obvious, and it plays a role in what I believe to be the purpose of this human experience, of this incarnation in this body. Let's start with chapter 2. So to unpack this, I quickly want to go back 5 years, where I was extremely unhappy. I was drinking a liter of beer every night just to take the edge off, totally consumed in negative emotion. Little did I know that this would all change after I had my first experience with psychedelics. What this experience taught me is that we are not separate from nature, that we are not just this body dropped here on this planet, that we are connected with everything in a dimension that precedes matter. So to go quickly on this one, I can talk about this for hours, and I also make my money making productions for a YouTube channel that gives scientists a platform to talk about this connection. So it's not like some super spiritual nonsense. There are literally signs in science, in quantum mechanics, in physics, that there is a deeper layer that comes before matter pops into existence. That the world is not like we think matter, but that it exists, that it appears to come out of a deeper layer below matter, a spiritual non-physical layer, call it whatever you want, call it God, that if this layer, this mathematical field is in a certain state, that matter pops into existence. And in this psychedelic experience, I connected with this deeper reality. And I believe that people who meditate, or people who do breath work, or people who use psychedelics, that they find a way to limit this ego that creates the illusion that we're separate from nature. I just want to emphasize that this feeling of truth during the spiritual experience was so overwhelming. It felt more real than being sober. And you hear this from many people around the world, that these spiritual experiences feel ultra real. And that after going back, after sobering up, that this world that we're living in feels like a dream. And it made me reconsider what this fundamental purpose of life was, what the fundamental purpose of this human experience was. I always thought that the fundamental purpose of life was to be happy, make a living for yourself, to become successful, to earn a lot of money. I believe that these superficial desires are created from the ego. The ego wants validation, wants money, wants status. The thing is that these things that I thought would make me happy in the future, I didn't have those. And in that moment where I reconnected, where I suppressed my ego, I was happier than I've ever been in my life. So what the fuck? In that moment of oneness, I experienced little to no ego, and I was happier than ever. Why is this ego a blessing? When we get constantly ripped away from this feeling by it. So it all lays in this weird paradox of non-duality. Trust me, this is going somewhere. Chapter 3. It feels very weird to me that we are all one, but we still experience a world where everything seems to be split in light and dark, in happiness and sadness, in man and woman. There is duality everywhere. In my dictionary, non-duality means that we experience this separateness and that this is an illusion. And that the true fundamental reality is that we are all one, that everything in existence, everything that exists is one, is connected with each other through a non-physical, spiritual dimension. Is everything an illusion then? Light and dark, is that all an illusion? Yeah, but no. I came to the conclusion that we are all trying to find our way back to wholeness. That we're all on a trajectory to reconnect with spiritual reality and embrace this duality and contradiction together as one. And we can do this when we're 20 years old, and we can do this when we die. We have to when we die. That's what I believe. Either way, I believe that we will experience this wholeness somewhere in our lives. I believe that this is the fundamental purpose of our human experience here. This is why I believe the ego is the biggest gift, because it helps us to separate us from God, from source, from this non-physical connection to everything. This ego is the biggest gift because we get the gift of being separated from this spiritual reality and get the joy to reconnect with it again. And when you fully realize what separation does for you, it starts to develop itself into a philosophy that permeates your whole life. It is crazy how it prevents you from being stuck for too long in the darkness. For example, I've often experienced these godforsaken cycles where I failed and I talk to myself like, why the fuck did you fail? And I start to pull myself into the darkness and keep myself in the darkness by bombarding my darkness with more darkness. Fucking ego. But when I saw this holistic perspective, everything changed, because I saw that I was unstoppable. No matter how much fucking darkness I threw on myself, because I thought it would motivate me, I overcame. And how is that not a gift, right? In every dark place, in every suffering is a lesson. It's crazy. So in that way you also become like grateful for when things are shitty. I'm gonna move more and more closely to wholeness in my day-to-day, and I'm not gonna let my ego control me anymore. So I should enjoy this texture of being defeated, because I need to remember that in order to enjoy this positivity that is now present in my life even more. Without being stuck in darkness, I could have never gained that belief in myself, the belief that I could overcome. The darkness was an integral part of this experience. It taught me self-belief I could have never gotten otherwise. Also with anger, for example. Anger is so beautiful when you see it from the perspective of a husband trying to protect his family. Right? Anger is necessary in order to keep boundaries, to show boundaries to the outside world. This anger only shows you how much you love yourself and how much you love your family, right? Why are we angry at the government? Because we love ourselves and feel like we deserve more, that our family deserves more. Everything is coming back to love in the end. This is so crazy. If you look through this lens to everything in your life, shit becomes so delicious. You see everything for what it is. It's all true unconditional love, whether it's darkness or light. It's all part of the same love. Every light part has a dark side, and every dark side has positivity with it. Like, for example, for a positive thing that has something dark, right? Look at these militant climate activists, right? Destroying art isn't the way. Protesting for to help mitigate climate change, fucking perfect. But do not go and destroy cultural heritage, because then you're doing the wrong things for the right reason. So when you start to live this, you get a certain satisfaction or a detachment when you are in these dark depths in your human experience. You start to laugh about it. I'm just having a bad day, man. It got 17 views. You start to get a weird satisfaction out of it. And by the way, detaching from this darkness is actually the only way to get out of it, because if you get frustrated, you only dig your own hole even deeper. And this is my answer. I think you get the point. So thank you, ego. This is my love letter to you. Thank you for ripping me away from this spiritual reality so I can experience the wholeness and the joy and the overwhelming peace and love that comes with it when you reconnect. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you got something out of this, and I wish you a very beautiful day, and I hope you see darkness in a different way.